Hey guys, Brian from Boas here. Well, the nights are getting shorter, the kids are back at school, it's now October, and October is probably my favorite month of the year. One of the reasons being is the month where I really start thinking about the upcoming boa breeding season. And so I'm really starting to give serious consideration to which of my boas is going to see action in the year ahead. Today I want to briefly show you guys some of the animals I'm planning on pairing up. We'll take a look at some of the babies from the crossings that I produced in the past so you get an idea of what I might be producing in 2026. And I want to give you kind of a rundown of my planning for the breeding season. So be sure to stay tuned. First of all, I want to thank all you guys who responded to my morph special, where if you buy one morph boa, you get a second morph boa at 50% off. And that is good through the end of October. And unfortunately, I've had some technical challenges with the link to my Flickr page where all the baby boas are shown. And I'm not sure why. It was working in the past, and then it decided to crap out on me through YouTube. And the link looks identical when I post it, but then it somehow gets truncated, and I can't figure out how to put it in there. And so, anyway, if you can't get to the Flickr page, please either cut and paste the link, the full link, into your browser and get there that way, or you can send me an email at cleowolfe, that's CLEOWOLFE, at yahoo.com, and I'll be happy to send you the link. The information is also below the video description. So now the 2026 boa breeding season. I'm really excited. This is going to be a great year ahead. I imagine that I'm going to have a similar number of pairings as I did in 2025, which was a little bit less than in 2024, but overall I think I was more successful, had a higher success rate, larger litters, higher quality animals. And I think as I've been moving year to year, I'm kind of focusing more on fewer projects, but projects where I'm more successful. And so I anticipate that I'll extend this progress into 2026. And first, and probably foremost, of course, are my true red-tailed boas. Of course, the Surinams are kind of my bread and butter. This is a animal I held back from my 2024 pairing with Mr. Pink, a Florida Red-tailed Tudahope bloodline animal that's very popular among the viewers. Beautiful, beautiful animal, doing great. This guy's now a little over a year old. And I anticipate Mr. Pink is going to see action again. He was successful in 2025. Hopefully he'll have a three-peat in 2026 and produce more of these beautiful, beautiful animals. I will have several other pairings as well of Suriname true red tails. And as I've been saying, the quality of these animals gets better and better and better. Every year I say this is the best litter I've ever produced, and hopefully I can honestly say that in 2026. So these guys will be paired up, and I anticipate that I probably have maybe one or two more feedings of all my animals, and then they'll probably get a week or two. And then at that point, I'll start to drop the temperature slightly for some of the animals, but not all the animals, and they'll be paired up. And so the pairings will go basically from November through January. They won't get any food when they're paired up, and hopefully we'll have a lot of action going on then, and I'll say more about that in a sec. In addition to several pairings of Suriname true red tails, I'll have at least one pairing, possibly two, of Venezuelan true red tails like this one. This is a female I produced in 2022. Beautiful, beautiful animal. These Venezuelans are kind of a dwarfish red tail. I just love the colors, and check out the eyes on this animal. It's just stunning. And look how saturated the colors are, beautiful oranges and yellows. And these guys don't get quite as big as many other types of true red tail, and they're really not all that common, really underrated type of true red tail. If you've been following the channel, you know that I used to work with lots of different true red tails, but I've really cut back, and now I'm just working with the Surinams and the Venezuelans. And these are my two favorites, and I like the others, but I can't do it all. And so I had to let go some of the other locality red tails that I was working on and breed more holdbacks from the Venezuelans and Surinams. So I haven't been as successful with the Venezuelans. In fact, the last time I produced them was 2022, the litter that this animal was from. So hopefully I can get a litter in 2026. It's not a sure thing though. You know, breeding red tails is never a sure thing, but I've had the most success with the Surinams and not as much with the Venezuelan. So we'll have to see, fingers crossed, for some beautiful Venezuelan and true red tails in 2026. Next, I wanted to discuss my morph boa breeding plans for 2026. And as you know, I have a few morph projects, although 90% of what I do is localities. But one of my favorite genes is IMG, the increasing melanin gene. And this is an example of a IMG female I produced in 2024. So this girl is about 1.5 years old now and just stunning. This is probably my darkest boa that I have, and she's just going to get darker as she gets older. This boa was actually for sale for a while, and then she just grew on me, and she was getting so dark at such a young age. I'm actually holding her at a distance because she's a little bit temperamental, but she's, oh, yep, she's a little feisty. I don't know what her deal is. Her mother is kind of feisty also, but as long as I hold my arm perfectly still, she'll think I'm a tree, and I'll be okay. So this one is a very dark boa. She's het for both call, albino, and anerythristic. And she may well be almost pure black in a couple years. Just a stunning animal. So the mother of this one, which is an IMG hypo, het for both call and anery, will be paired with my moonglow male, who's really mellow actually. And it's the same pairing that produced this female. So hopefully we should have some nice stunning IMG combos to look at. But this girl, I'm going to put her back before I lose some blood. She's just a little bit temperamental, but I like it when some of my boas are a little bit like this, rather than they're just all really mellow and docile. Next, I wanted to grab a really mellow animal after that spicy IMG. So this is an Argentine boa Constrictor occidentalis. One of my most mellow types of locality boas. I don't think I've ever been bitten by one. Even though they do hiss as babies, they almost never bite, and I've never, as I said, been bitten by one. This one is what's this guy, a 2024. I didn't produce any, I didn't pair up any in 2025. I've got potentially 1 or even 2 females ready to go. And so hopefully we should have some more of these beautiful Argentine boas in 2026. And I might as well mention now, people often ask me about my cycling procedures. Do I drop the temperatures? What do I do to cycle them? Basically, I do drop the temperature slightly for some of my boas, but not all. And I'll drop the night temperatures by up to about 10 to 15 degrees. So it goes from a daytime hot spot of 88 to 90, cool side of about 75. And at night, I gradually drop it. So during the peak of the cooling, the temperatures dropped about 15 degrees. So the hot spot is down to about 75 or so. And the ambient temp is probably a little bit less than that, probably about 70 or so at that point. I'm not too technical, and I don't drop the temperature for a lot of the boas. Like, I don't drop it for any of my morph boas. I typically drop it for my locality boa imperator, drop it for my occidentalis. My red tails, I'm kind of hit or miss. Usually I don't, but sometimes I do. Just, you know, some part of it is just if I feel like it, to be honest. It's kind of more of intuitive. Just as it seemed like the boa needs to have the temperature slightly dropped. And part of it, I'm just kind of reading the boas. So, you know, I apologize. I can't really tell you what leads me to believe this, but it's just, I just know it, right? And the most important thing, though, is the feeding. I stopped feeding from the end of October through like mid to late January. And during that period, the animals are paired. And basically, when they're done with their pairing, their continuous pairing for 3 months, I'll separate the male and female. I'll feed them. I'll keep them apart for about a week. Then I put them back together for a month. And I repeat that process for several months until the females are obviously gravid, or we reach like May or June. And at that point, if they're not gravid, they're probably not going to get gravid. So I just kind of give up at that point. As far as my baby boas, I do not drop the temps for the youngest of the babies, which are the ones that were born within a year, and I feed them regularly. But my subadults like this one, I'll drop the temperature slightly and I'll stop feeding them for, it's more like about a month and a half. I forgot to mention, I raised the temperatures after we hit around into January. So what's that, like to drop for about 2 months or so? But again, you don't have to do this for all the boas. You don't even have to do it. You can just try what works for you. There's different regimens which can induce the boas to breed. So you just do what works for you. I would recommend that you try lots of different things at first, see what works, and then keep that next year and build on your knowledge year to year. That's the best way that you can learn to breed boas. Another really rare boa that I am planning on pairing up in 2026 are the Honduran firebellies. This is a 2024 female that I held back, and you can see her orange and pink color along her flanks and belly, hence the name firebelly. And I actually did have a small litter of these guys in 2025. This is the first time actually publicly announcing it. But people had been contacting me about these boas, and I had a small list of people that had been interested in them for a very long time. And so I think I had only about 7 babies from the 2025 litter, and they all went to these people who had expressed interest years in advance. Hopefully I'll have another litter in 2026, because these guys are in very short supply and seem to have a really dedicated following. This one, she's a little bit iffy. The temperament of these Honduran firebellies is a little iffy. Sometimes they can be really docile. Sometimes they can be really hissy and strike, and they kind of go from gentle to mental in like 2 seconds flat. So we'll just have to see. But she's behaving nicely so far. So the colors do get better. So this one, as I mentioned, was a holdback. You could see I really like her saddles, and a lot of people like the more patternless ones. But I held her back because she had such nice symmetrical saddles. Just a beautiful looking animal. These guys are also known for their beautiful, big, orangey looking eyes. So hopefully more Honduran firebellies in 2026. Next on the breeding agenda, we have probably my favorite locality boa of them all, and that is the Barranquilla Colombia Boa Imperator. This is actually one of my breeders, a 2020 born female from my buddy Michael Beach. Beautiful, beautiful animal. This one I haven't bred yet. I bred the other one, her sister. Had a really nice litter, and held some of those guys back. The rest went to their new homes really quickly. They were very popular. But hopefully we should get some more from this female. And this one is probably about 6 feet long, really nice, bulky, muscular, beautiful, beautiful saddle markings and colors. She's actually, I think she's going into shed, so her colors are a little bit dull. But she's ready to go. You can see she's quite robust. She's been getting a little bit of extra food to get her ready for breeding. And she won't be eating as much when she starts the breeding trials. But fingers crossed on these Barranquilla. I know how popular these guys are, deservedly so. And hopefully we'll have a nice litter in 2026. In addition to my Suriname red tails, dwarf boas are another type of boa that I produce pretty much every year and that I specialize in. And in 2025 was no different. I produced Tarahumara and Crawl-Key dwarf boas. I still have babies available if you're interested. But in 2026, I'm also planning on pairing up a Cocker-Key dwarf boa. I didn't have any pairs in 2025 since I just have one adult pair. But hopefully 2026 we'll have another litter. This one is a female that I held back from 2022. Great dwarf boa. These guys get to be about 4.5 or 5 feet as adults. You can see this one is now about 3.5 years old, doing great. These guys have really robust muscles. They really hold on, and really nice boas to work with. I've kind of specialized. I used to have even more types of dwarf boas, but over the years I've kind of settled on the Tarahumara, the Crawl-Key, and the Cocker-Key as my 3 favorites. And I have pretty robust breeding groups of all of them, the exception being the Cocker-Key, where I just have the one adult pair. But I have this female, and I have a few more holdbacks from 2022 and 2024 for future breeders. And these guys are doing great. And my pair bred really well the 2 times I paired it up, so hopefully we'll have a three-peat in 2026, and have some more of these beautiful dwarf cocker key boas available. The next locality boa is another one that I didn't pair up in 2025, but I'm planning on pairing in 2026, and that's the Pearl Island boa, like this one. And these are one of my favorites. It's a really underrated locality boa. They're really unique, different from other boas in terms of their body shape. They're much longer, more adapted to life in the trees, and they have this beautiful kind of flattened head with this flared nostrils and big beautiful eyes. You can see that they're also pretty much patternless. They don't have the saddles, just a few blotches, and they're also naturally hypomelanistic with this beautiful light colors. So this is a male that was born here in 2019. This guy's actually ready to breed. I'm not planning on pairing him up though. I have another pair that's older and more experienced that I'm going to pair up. I think they're now about 11 or 12 years old, and they had, I think, 2 or 3 litters already. So hopefully they'll produce another nice litter in 2026. These animals are typically the first litters born in the year, and they can be born, in my experience, as early as March. So they just, they get right down to it when you pair them up. The female's gravid in like a month and a half, and then she has the babies. Really easily, great animals to work with. As I mentioned, these guys aren't really well known, but the people that have seen them really like them, and they seem to have a cult following among those who are in the know. So definitely check these out, these Pearl Island boas, if you haven't heard of them before. One thing to correct, they are not a dwarf boa. I see so many people claiming island boas are dwarf boas. No, these are not dwarfs. Neither are hog islands for that matter. My female is probably about 8 feet. So that's definitely not a dwarf. She's not quite as thick as other 8-foot boas like the true red tails, but she's definitely very muscular, very big, not a dwarf. Pearl Islands are not dwarf boas. In fact, they need larger cages than most boas because they move around a lot. So don't get one thinking it's a dwarf boa. Anyway, we'll hopefully have some babies in 2026. One more boa for today's video. Yet another boa that I didn't pair up in 2025 that I'm going to give a go in 2026 is the Longicata or Longtail boa. And you can see this is a very dark boa. This is my female from the Russo bloodline. Beautiful dark colors. Check out those head markings. This female is probably about 7 feet. She's a pretty good sized animal, really muscular. And she's produced a couple litters previously. So we'll pair her up. These are another boa that kind of has a cult following among the people that like them and know them. They really like them. But they're not as well known as some of the other boas. But if you're interested in darker boas like Argentines or Tarahumara or IMG, definitely check these guys out. These are kind of like a naturally occurring form of IMG where they start out light, not light in color, but lighter in color as babies, and they get darker and darker with every shed until as adults they have this beautiful dark coloration. What I like about them though is that they're not pure black. They have this beautiful kind of caramel and mocha colors that are underneath the black, but just beautiful animal. These guys also, they're pretty chill to work with, kind of laid back to handle. Definitely like their food though. You got to be careful when feeding them, but just a great boa to work with either as a pet or in a breeding project. Okay, so I showed you guys some of the boas that I'm planning on pairing up. The plans aren't definite yet, so I'll know probably in a few weeks exactly which ones are going to be paired up. I still don't know, like for the Surinames, I've got a bunch of eligible bachelors and bachelorettes, and I have to figure out who gets to date who for the next few months. So as far as the specific pairings, we'll have to see. And then there are other things I didn't have time to mention in today's video, so there may be some other things going on as well. This isn't an exhaustive video. And I'll give updates probably on this channel every now and then. One question I get a lot is about waiting lists, and no, I don't have waiting lists. I don't really think it's fair, and there are other practical reasons why I don't do waiting lists. But if you are interested in a specific project and you really want to get some of these animals to add to your collection, just send me an email, and I can update you periodically if you want to check in. I respond to most of the emails. Sometimes I miss an email, but I do my best to at least give a quick response. So you can check in periodically to see where your project of interest stands and when babies might be available. Also, I wanted to mention I still have quite a few 2025 and even some 2024 babies available. So if you can't wait until next summer to get a boa, you might want to check those out. You can shoot me an email at leowolf@yahoo.com, and I'll be happy to send you the link to my Flickr page. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think, and enjoy your boas.